This episode is scripted by John Ruths and Newell Fisher and is narrated, recorded and edited by Newell Fisher. Hello, and welcome to the Watership Down podcast, episode 44, in which we will be going through chapter 42, News at Sunset. The light-heartedness of the story we went through last week was quite appropriate for the UK, where pantomime is one of our Christmas traditions, because Rowsby Woof would definitely make good pantomime. Queen Dripslobber could even put in an appearance as the Dame, with El-ahrairah as principal boy. If I've lost you, don't worry, it's a British thing. If in doubt, Google the word pantomime. I can only apologise if the result causes you confusion. Pantomime is a uniquely British tradition for which we have no excuse. So, on to the last episode of 2021. Chapter 42. News at Sunset. It's interesting to note that a Lapine term for sunset isn't used in Watership Down. Bearing in mind that this is one of the most popular times to silflay, such a phrase could easily have been justified. The pre-chapter quote is from Plato, referring to Socrates in Euthyphro. We generally think of Socrates as not just the founder of Western philosophy, but also as a very logical person. Euthyphro was a religious prophet, and you can already see where this is going. He was an opponent of Socrates, and concepts of philosophy and religion often run against one another. Socrates was put on trial and was eventually put to death. It makes sense that Plato recorded this, as the two had a special relationship, with Socrates being his teacher. Socrates was famous for asking Euthyphro, "Is the pious loved by the gods because it is pious, or is it pious because it is loved by the gods?" One of those unsolvable conundrums if you are religious. But one might ask, how does this relate to Watership Down? Plato's statement that, quote, "the act is unjust and hateful to the gods," end quote, would seem to refer to how things develop in this chapter. So, like some other pre-chapter quotes, this one is definitely foreshadowing, but it also refers to how things turn out, with the Efrafans finding the warren. Their discovery of Watership Down is also, quote, "unjust and hateful," end quote, but also, quote, "to the gods," end quote, given an upcoming remark about Frith by Hazel. One thing is certain, and we've seen this time and again, Richard Adams' selections for pre-chapter quotes were intriguing, sometimes thought-provoking and very special. Having just told the story about El-ahrairah besting Rowsby Woof, awesome storyteller and fastest rabbit Dandelion remembers that he's got sentry duty. Hazel goes with him to check on a hole that Speedwell and Boxwood are digging. This is interesting. Boxwood is Haystack's mate. Speedwell is also digging, so he must also have a mate. Hazel soon sees the same mouse that he saved many chapters ago. It's not the same mouse by random accident. This is a reminder from Adams, because it was the saving of this mouse that led to the Warrens' relationship with Kehaar, and where would our heroes be now without meeting and saving him? It also moves things along more quickly, and introductions are not needed. Hazel and the mouse talk a bit and catch up. Bigwig and Blackavar are nearby, and the former's patience with mice has not changed. The mouse overhears and sounds Bigwig out. Some nice Adams-flavoured humour is included. Bigwig is ready to change the subject, but the mouse has said something that has Hazel's hackles up a bit. A comment about another warren. We get another glimpse into the kinds of things that have made Hazel the chief of this warren. His intelligence, combined with his attention to detail, will now pay off. The mouse changes his demeanour. Mice apparently don't like to disagree and will say what they think the listener wants to hear. Hazel presses the point with the mouse again, and the mouse clarifies that it's not he who saw more rabbits, but a yellowhammer that related it to the mouse's brother. He adds detail about exactly where the other rabbits were seen. Hazel acts decisively, another Hazel trait. The reader can immediately see what he's putting together. Bigwig does not, and once again we get another glimpse into one of his layers. This is one of those times when tried and tested Bigwig rests upon his laurels and is simply not very prudent. Hazel is, and it's critically important that he is. He sends for Blackavar to get Holly, but he's already present, and this proves lucky. Speedwell appears. Sure enough, Clover's had her litter, so possibly mystery solved on who his mate was. This makes sense, as he's one of the heroes of the Nuthanger Farm foray. Having sent Holly and Blackavar, the two resident reconnaissance rabbits, Hazel and Bigwig talk about the warren. Even though it's assumed, Hazel makes a comment that makes it clear who the captain of the owls on Watership Down is. Bigwig has an idea for him. Hazel and Fiver to leave the down and check out the recently cut fields. We know that Hazel will not go for this, as he wants to hear from Holly and Blackavar first. They're coming back already, and there is immediately a sense of foreboding. Adam's writing about the mouse and sending off a little reconnaissance is quite suspenseful in its own right. Not only are Holly and Blackavar back, but Holly is also stamping an alarm and looks to be in a panic. His news is chilling. The Efrafans are here, and in large numbers. We know enough about Efrafan and Woundwort to know that this is the result of an Efrafan military operation. Blackavar, who'd gone underground upon returning, now comes out with Silver and Blackberry. Blackavar recommends a quick departure. Hazel won't agree to this, and neither will Bigwig. Even though what they say are quickly spoken lines of dialogue, the statements made are very important. Hazel's proclamation about staying, and Bigwig's second, is critical. Hazel states that anyone who wants to can leave, but we know that they won't. There is steadfastness in this warren, and it comes from the chief rabbit and the captain of his not quite yet formed owsla. What these rabbits choose to do, others will follow. Interestingly, Strawberry is nearby and states that he won't leave, and that he will not go back to Efrafan. Much like Bigwig's recent remark about his willingness to die to defend the warren if needed, we can tell that Strawberry feels the same way. You'd have to guess that the others will also feel the same. Hazel gives the order to fill in the holes. We don't hear any debate, and we don't hear about what it took to get it started. This is Richard Adams telling us that Hazel has total authority, but not the same totalitarian kind as his Efrafan counterpart. Rabbits follow Hazel because they respect him. The Efrafans also respect Woundwort, but one could argue that this is mainly from fear. To make a defence of the warren work, the Honeycomb is used to block runs from the inside. Kehaar's somewhat malodorous run is left open, and it occurs to Hazel that the Efrafans have no idea that he has left. He takes a little time to scatter some of his guano to make it look as if he is still around. Hazel realises that they are in a desperate situation. We feel for him, much as we felt for Bigwig when he was in Efrafan. It occurs to Hazel that the Efrafans will have experience breaching into a warren. He realises that as long as General Woundwort is there, the Efrafans will stick to things until they have defeated the warren. Hazel then does one of the bravest things he does in the entire book. He departs with the intention of meeting up with Woundwort, making Bigwig the Chief until he comes back. Many organisations do this sort of thing, but it's highly present in the military. When the leader is gone, someone is always designated in charge until the leader returns. This is a highly suspenseful chapter. We've read others that end very differently than they begin, but not quite so much as this one. This is not a building escape that ends in the rabbits of Watership Down getting away. This is their recently embarrassed enemy coming back for revenge. The chapter is not particularly long. Things move quickly, going from the ending of Dandelion's well-told story to what seems like the worst situation that our rabbit heroes have found themselves in yet. As the chapter ends, Hazel goes above ground and moves off down a track, seeking out the Efrafans. Next time, we learn about events in Efrafan after the escape of Bigwig with the does, culminating in the Great Patrol.